O'Neill had discovered another fact as a result of the Bears fiasco that should have shaken him to his core. He had learned the size of Merrill Lynch supreme exposure. It was enormous. When Cromwell had left in July 2007, the firms had somewhere between $5 billion and $8 billion in subprime risks on its books. Most of it was either subprime mortgage waiting to be securitized, range of mortgage banking securities waiting to be bought into CDOs or triple B CDOs tranches waiting to be replicated into new CDOs has triple A's. This was hardly had insignificant exposure. If those prime securities had to be written down in large numbers, Merrill was going to feel a good deal of pain. People would undoubtedly get fired, but it was not an amount that could bring the firms down. A year later, Merrill Lynch held an astonishing $55 billion in subprime exposure on its balance sheets in the space of 1 year. Semercy and Letitia had ended somewhere between $45 billion and $50 billion. In addition, exposures, some of it was the same kit of collateral that had been on the books when Cromwell had been running the show. Mortgage banked securities of one shorts or another waiting to be securitized, but the vast majority of this was AAA range of supreme CDOs. In a phone conversation, Latacion said that the way he his Challenger said in this chapter is misleading and unfair. His view is that he and Semercy had been singled out by other former Merrill Lynch executives who needed a convenient scapegoat about their own blame for the Merrill Lynch the debacle. According to Latancio, by the time he took the reins of the serious business, the machinery that would drive the firm's exposure into the stratosphere was already well in place, and there was little he or Mercy could do to stop it. Further, he said the purchase of firms Frankenrich General Subprime Mortgage that his divisions had to devote into CDOs had been made at the executive suite level, and that his word blame belows anyone who looked at closing and the AAA exposures will realize it in an instant that Latancio Hansemercy had done with AIG no longer around to write protection, lending to a lot of buyers for the super senior range. The only way Merrill could continue churning out new CDOs was to keep the AAA rigs intact. So that's what Mercy and Latancio had done in the case of CDOs with subprime mortgage banked securities. Merrill simply bought the AAA tranche and put them on its books. In the case of synthetic CDOs, a business Merrill was also deep into, the firms would find a hedge fund to take the short position and take the long position instead. In most cases, Merrill bought protections from a monoline insurers like MBA, which under the rules also enabled the firms to book the income on the AAA tranche up from, but in the event of disaster that wasn't likely to help much. The monolines had insured so much AAA risks that Any market event that hurt Merrill Lynch would destroy them. The result of Semercy and Latancius' strategy was the Merrill Lynch would remain the number one undergrad of CDOs, and the two men would get their big business, but in the process they had bought Merrill Lynch. Intel had great breaks, did the two men understand it at a certain point. Late in the game, Smers in particular seems to have understood the gravity of the situations. According to several former to Merrill executives, he appeared to have managed his risk assumptions in such a way as to keep the estimated loss that he pretended to management and the board artificially low. They also believed his marks were too hit. These same executives are convinced, for instance, that Semercy knew Fowler well when he made that war presentation in July 2007 that Merrill loans were going to be far higher than $83 million, but until it was far too late in adverse that Mercy and Latancio did not fully understand the import of their strategy. Why? Because just like Ralph Cioffi and Mike Tannen at Bears starting Mercy and Latancio, we still believed that a triple A rating meant something. As the American had gotten shakes, they had begun shorting the ABX triple B's bosses. It never occurred to them that they were on the wrong side of the triple A speeds. Their belief in the value of um, the team that were on the wrong sides AAA speeds. Their belief on the value of AAA is why Semercy could deal Kim with a strategy phase that Merrill had very little exposure to supreme risks. His style taught the AAAs were close to riskless. That's why he called the O'Neill he was reducing the risks in the portfolio, and that's why Semercy and Latancio could estimate Merrill worst case scenario loss in the terms of volumes rather than the volume. The two men were no different than the real money investors who had been lured into the game by Wall Street, convinced they were getting the high financial equivalent of free lunch and ultra safe securities that also generate higher yields than treasury bonds. Even many of these investors thought had become leery of the AAA rating by the summer of 2007, especially as the spread between treasuries and super senior tranche narrowed to as market has Merrill Lynch had loaned up a AAA mortgage-backed securities. The firms had become, without knowing it one of the dumped guys that was the real difference between Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch. We feel for our scam. John Bray, the Merrill Risk manager, would later say. Semercy and Latancio both take issue with the characterizations between August 2006 and September 2007. Semercy wrote in a letter, the firm's overall subprime exposure, including but not limited to CDOs, subprime loans, subprime warehouse facilities. CDOs warehouse facilities it was substantially reduced, not questioning the decision taken by the company before my turn to purchase Fiat Franklin with existing inventory. As for the change that the view with AAA securities as reckless, Semercy says that was not the case. There is no such thing as a riskless positions in the markets, he wrote.